Good day, everyone. So today we will be discussing the fourth lesson for our course subject, language learning material development. So now we will be dealing with digital materials for language learning. So the goal and objective for this topic is to distinguish the essential skills needed by a writer on materials development. And later on, we will be discussing how to create one digital material through an application. And in the end, you will be having an infographic. Later on, there will be an infographic making tutorial as well for language learning material. All right. Okay. Digital writing for digital material. So digital writing can be described as written communication that goes beyond just text. It's created through the use of technology and is connected with and made available by a wide network of web-based resources. So you would see digital writing in almost every not almost, but in all aspects of your social media life. You buy any communication that you do with the internet, that requires you to create something that is that could inform, that could mostly to inform, some to give a little entertainment, to give awareness, in such so long that it is not published via tangible material like printed, something like that. More on the digital side, then that is considered as digital writing. But really, it's not everything that you write is digital writing. There are characteristics for you to distinguish that it is a concrete example of digital writing. Most often, these are news write-ups, articles that are published online. So word is published online. It's different from being posted. All right. And with digital writing, there has become an incorporation of that in the educational system as well. Especially nowadays that since the health crisis is proliferating even until now, we still educators were able to create and find ways to deliver lessons without the face-to-face interaction with the students. So furthermore, digital writing is not simply a matter of learning about and integrating new digital tools into an unchanging repertoire of writing processes, practices, skills, and habit of mind. Digital writing is about a dramatic change of ecology of writing and communication, and indeed what it means to write, to create, to compose, and to share. So there are principles of good writing that could be applicable for digital writing as well. Especially now that with digital writing, it's different from the traditional writing. Because in the traditional writing, the longer you get, the better, because there is, there's this mindset that it's thoroughly explained, that it's very detailed. But with digital writing, it's a different case. you need to somehow it's the opposite of what is expected when you write. What is expected when you write in the digital platform. All right. So what are the principles of good digital writing? All right. So in the traditional, as we have mentioned, it's more on the when you see the longer the better the longer the better it is. All right. However, with digital writing, somehow it's quite different because, as you know, the competition in the digital world is really tough. So there are over thousands, or if not thousands, 10,000s of content being published online, and you only got 2 seconds for your article or for your write-up or for your work to be noticed. So the principles for digital writing would be quite different as compared to the principles of the traditional. Because you need to comply firstly on how to get the attention of your readers. Right? As for the academic purposes of that, you need to get the attention of your students, of your learners, by just one glance. They were able to learn something. All right. So there are 7 principles that a digital writer must observe in order to gain good writing skills on the digital platform. So first one, be brief. Writing should be clear and concise. Readers need little reason not to read further, and this especially and painfully true online. Prune your prose. Example, cluttered writing. The male gender is so different from the female gender that it is also as if they are from different planets. So that's so long. Yes, it's very thorough. It's very well explained. You get that there are men and women have different characteristics. Somehow there are moments that they cannot agree on something. It's as if they do not belong to one planet. So in the briefer version of this, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Brief. If you can express your sentence in a shorter version or shorter manner possible. So with that, you need to, like I've mentioned even before, you need to enrich your vocabulary. So there are many things, there are many activities that you can do that, to improve your vocabulary so that you can have the perfect words for the perfect sentence or the perfect statement. And with that, next is in connection to perfection of words, precision, or be precise. Use words that are meaning requires, not only that is close, requires, or words one that sounds close. A dictionary or thesaurus should never be away when you're doing writing. Example. Precision. A sense of trust was induced. No, trust is enabled or rewarded or encouraged, but not induced. They seem to be synonymous. Induced, enabled, rewarded, encouraged. But in precision of its function or its use, it's not supposed to be used as induced when it's combined or when it's used with trust. Because the nature of trust, it is enabled or it is rewarded. It is not induced. somehow induced is used for things related to medicine. All right. If it's like, usually it's more on induce her labor, induce the mother's labor by injecting or by using epidural. Induced. It also means enabled or to start. All right. So there are these words. Induced is not usually used for that is related for in association with the word trust. Another is put into effect. No, put into effect. Affect, if you would remember in comma, these are troublesome words. Affect, a synonymous word for affect is influence. Effect is the result. Right? She was surrounded by messages. Perhaps she was inundated with messages or drowning in information, but surrounded by a ring of messages. No. Because surrounded, when you use that, it's more on the physical manifestation of something. She was surrounded by bandits. You can see bandits as a person, but messages, the message, it's not really floating all over. The words are floating. All right. So surrounded. So be precise on the words that is appropriately to be used on your sentence. That's in support with briefness. Because if it's precise, you need not to explain further because the words are already there to explain. All right. Next, be active. Write using the active voice. Example of passive is ball was fielded by the baseball player. Active, the baseball player fielded the ball. So when it is passive, as a review, the subject does not act the verb. He passes that to the doer of the action that is at the end of the sentence. Usually in the simplest form, by. When there is by at the end, there is somehow it is or passing the action to someone or something. That is passive. Active, the doer of the action in the sentence is the subject. So always use active voice. All right? Be imaginative. Be creative with words by using metaphors and analogies. Visualize analogies and metaphors when writing, as well as image and they conjure. Be aware, however, that mixed metaphors are not only inaccurate but distract the readers and discredit the writer. Great care should be exercised when employing them, using them only when they help communicate an idea and do not hinder understanding or worse. Offend and alienate. Right? It's easy to settle with a cliche, but doing so is easy. Avoid using cliche. So, last but not the least, I give 110%, untimely death. Talk about brutal rape, few or far between, stick to the game plan of the wagon on the wagon or circling the wagon. These are cliches. So only use, yes, be creative. You can use metaphors, but never overuse it. Or analogies. Only use it when it is needed. Right? You remember, your goal is that at one glance, your students would understand the lesson that you're conveying on the material, on the digital material. Okay. As for the case of digital writing, most likely this is more on the image. Okay. It's best to have an original and authentic word. Example. An information superhighway, the internet, too often resembles a Los Angeles cloverleaf during rush hour. Meaning to say, it's really people are crowding the place. All right. Or, no. Rather, superhighway. It means it's still fast, or it's still really, it's still fast because, you know, in Los Angeles, the roads are wide. There's no traffic. Rather, all right? So still, internet is, in there is really fast, rather. Or you can say that there are so many, because when it's rush hour, so many vehicles are there. You would see that the road is not empty. So there are so many information, right? Excuse me. Analogies or metaphor. Or using a simple analogy that could be easily understood. Just to show creativity. Or somehow could be simile or the simplest forms of figure of speeches. Be direct. Know how to address verbal punch with a stab of brevity. Short sentence can affect emphasis and power in writing. Do not, don't go sideways or sidelines. Go straight to the point. Be consistent. Failing to use parallel structure is one of the most common problems in writing. Example, one cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well. The bad example, one cannot think well, have love, have fallen asleep if dinner was done. So if you would see the pattern, there is the verb and then the adjective, the verb and the adjective, the verb and the adjective. And same goes with the other one. So there should be parallelism. If you're progressive, if your verb is progressive, go thoroughly progressive. If it's past tense, go thoroughly past tense. All right? See the pattern of the first verb and then do the same with the other verbs or with the rest of the sentence. All right, same goes with this one. It's bad to say or it's ill to say. This is an ill inconsistency to say Austin likes to run and jogging. Rather, you say Austin likes running and jogging. Right? And then the 7, be aware. Here are common pitfalls you'll want to be sure to avoid when writing. Plagiarism, be aware of plagiarism. Always cite your sources. Stereotyping, never give a general statement that could imply a negative connotation to a certain person or a certain race. Stereotype, we all know what stereotyping is, giving a prejudgment towards someone without even knowing them. See, for example, Black people do not deserve justice. That is stereotyping. Women are emotional. That's stereotyping. Because you're giving prejudgment to people, to a certain race or a certain group of people, or even certain someone without even knowing them. Oversimplifying, rarely a choice or either, or rarely does a question or issue have only two sides. And this one, you oversimplified that no information has already been gotten. Right? Generalizing, all computer users struggles with addiction. You're generalizing, it's just like stereotyping. Avoid that. Jumping into conclusions, same goes with generalizing. Faulty logic or circular argument, using the Bible, for example, to justify one's Christian faith. However, Bible is fine for explaining Christian faith, right? But somehow, there's nothing wrong with that. However, you should always deal with the context of your writing. All right, because or using connotations that could imply, or using quotations rather, that could imply faulty what you call that? Faulty logic. In short, para kang namimilos. Right? But it's again, it's contextual when you're using the Bible. Say, for example, it's just quotation for, or if you want to give a Bible verse, there's nothing wrong with that. But explain, and another is, if you're going to explain using the Bible, it's gonna be very thorough. And it could mislead. So as much as possible, the best way to use the Bible for digital writing is just have the quotation copy, or have the verses rather, and the chapter and the verses in the book copy directly. Not use it for arguments. All right. There are other ways to use. There are other means to say to give arguments through digital writing, but using the Bible is not the case. It's quite sensitive. It could mislead. So and also it could cause far more arguments, because in reality, not every one of us have a united understanding with the Bible. We all have different interpretations. That's reality, right? Overuse of pronouns and articles. This, these, those, he or she. So give an alteration, or start with the person that you're going to pertain. Say, for example, the teacher or Miss Gabas gave her lecture yesterday. She. Overusing is, she gave her lecture yesterday, and she. Who is the she? There should always be someone. There should always be a person you're pertaining to when you're using the pronoun. So use the name first and then use the pronoun. She assigned a task after the lecture. Yeah. Another is, okay, in addition to your to awareness, let's go with plagiarism. No to plagiarism, citing and crediting online sources. So writing for digital platform has different ways of citing and crediting sources compared to printed, which you will be using it on the reference part. Rather, you use through number one, CTTO, credit to the owner. This is usually used when the creator wants to credit embedded or uploaded materials on their blog sites or sites. There. So how do you do this? So just simply write CTTO and then the source of the website, then the link of the username. Right? Or inclusion on the URL on the material itself. So you put there in the side the source of the image and where it is created. There. So before we dive into that, so make sure that the placement of the credit is not too obstructive to the or to the graph. Right, so that ends our lesson for today. And see you next synchronous meeting. I hope that you stay safe and free from all the viruses surrounding, or rather proliferating us. Good day and